Between 2002 and 2012, at least 12 people were murdered in karaoke bars in the Philippines for their performance. These murders occurred in different bars with different people perpetrating each crime, but one factor linked all these incidents together. Each victim was singing the same classic Frank Sinatra song. Attempts to explain this bizarre series of violent incidents vary. Some suggest the frequency of the song being sung in karaoke bars irritated people. Others suggest it was due to off-key performances. And others still chalk it up to the song's triumphalist lyrics, turning the audience against the seemingly self-aggrandizing karaoke singer. If it was truly the lyrics that drove people to murder, then it's possible that many lives would have been saved if the French music publisher behind the Sinatra single had okayed the English version penned by a 21-year-old David Bowie in 1968. It was a common practice in this time for non-English European hits to be bought up by British and American record labels who would have English lyrics written up for an English singer to perform alongside the original composition. The hit that Bowie attempted to anglicize was a song performed by French singer-songwriter Claude Francois, written by Jacques Rivaux, with input from Francois and fellow musician Gilles Thibault. Oddly enough, the original draft of the single was in English. Rivaux had been on vacation when he remembered that he was contracted to write 4 songs for producer Norbert Sada, and these songs were overdue. In a single morning, he wrote all 4 songs, with one in English entitled For Me. This English-language track was shopped around to every popular French singer of the era and eventually wound up with Hervé Villard, who allegedly released it as a B-side, though I cannot find any trace of it. Rivaux was dissatisfied with Villard's version and sought out Francois personally, offering to rewrite the song for Francois to record. The singer agreed on the condition that the lyrics deal with the idea of a couple in a strained relationship, as Francois himself had recently broken up with fellow singer France Gall. The deal was made and the hit French single was recorded and released in 1967. A year later, Bowie writes English lyrics for the song and records a short demo of himself singing over the original track, with Francois' voice still audible in the background. Titled Even a Fool Learns to Love, the song was rejected by the publisher. Yet another year later, in 1969, Canadian-American singer-songwriter Paul Anka hears the French song while traveling in Paris and buys adaptation, recording, and publishing rights for the song at the low, low price of $1. This bargain was made under the provision that the composers would retain their royalty rights. Anka, inspired by a dinner he recently had with Frank Sinatra, where the legendary crooner said, quote, "I'm quitting the business, I'm sick of it, I'm getting the hell out," end quote, decided that this would be the best time to write a song for Sinatra to sing. Quote, "At 1 o'clock in the morning, I sat down on an old IBM electric typewriter and said, if Frank were writing this, what would he say? I used words I would never use, but that's the way he talked. I used to be around steam rooms with the Rat Pack guys. They like to talk like mob guys, even though they would have been scared of their own shadows," said Anka. When his writing was finished, Anka called Sinatra at 5 in the morning to let him know that he had, quote, something really special for the singer. Sinatra recorded the song in one take, and it went on to become one of his most successful and iconic hits, reaching number 27 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 2 on the easy listening charts in the US. In the UK, the song peaked at number 5 and spent 75 weeks in the top 40 between 1969 and 1971. While it may be an honor to have your song sung by such a legendary musician and to have it be a huge success, this was not enough for Anka's record label. Quote, "When my record company caught wind of it, they were very pissed that I didn't keep it for myself. I said, hey, I can write it, but I'm not the guy to sing it. It was for Frank, no one else," said Anka. Anka's record label may still be moaning about the financial potential the song would have had for them, but for what it's worth, Sinatra wasn't too pleased with the single in the long run. This piece may be known as Sinatra's signature song, but the singer himself couldn't stand it. Quote, "He didn't like it. That song stuck and he couldn't get it off his shoe. He always thought the song was self-serving and self-indulgent," said Tina Sinatra, his daughter. So, Bowie didn't get his version made. Sinatra lived the rest of his life being known for a song he hated, and at least 12 people died in the Philippines. But hey, at least Paul Anka got his way. That's right, we're talking Jacques Rivaux and Claude Francois' Comme d'habitude and its much more famous cover, My Way, written by Paul Anka and performed by Frank Sinatra on Bowie Me.
Et je te bouscule, tu ne te réveilles pas, comme d'habitude. Sur toi, je remonte le drap.
Yeah, that's right, it's Bowie Me, the only podcast that compares famous Bowie-related songs to their many cover versions to find out which one took all the blows. I'm your host, as always, The Snake, joined by my usual co-host,
Alex Mildenberger.
You see, Comme d'habitude in French means as usual.
As usual, yeah.
That's a little language joke for you. Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Gearing up for we're recording out of order. So
Yes.
this is a little bit peek behind the curtains, but just, getting ready for Christmas here.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, we're way out of order. So Christmas is long past, and it was a great
Long
time, and it went
past.
well.
We're basically nearing the end of Bowie Me as we record this.
Yeah,
the
this
end
is
of
like
January,
end of January.
as
So we're
people are hearing this.
all over the place, scheduling wise. But that's all right.
Scheduling. Yeah,
That's all right.
it's all right. That's good. You're doing good. You're ready
Yeah.
for Christmas.
Just about.
Just about. I should hope so. By the time this comes out, hopefully you
I'll
are ready
have
for
gotten ready for
Christmas.
Christmas. Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Alex, we're talking about a big one today.
We are talking about a big one. My Way. I mean, a lot of big names involved with this. Obviously, it's a fun Bowie connection. And we've talked about this before a little bit, right? Because
Yeah.
the sort of Bowie version of My Way kind of ended up getting adapted into Life on Mars.
Yeah, my understanding of
To
it
some extent. I don't really know how, though.
is more so that Bowie was a little pissed. Just that, I guess, like the closeness in the time interval where he's like, I wrote this version, and now suddenly a different English version goes to Frank Sinatra. So he's like a little upset. He uses the same chord progression and kind of some of the same stylings to basically parody My Way and do his own My Way, which is Life on Mars.
Yeah. And that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it doesn't mean that much to this song.
No, it doesn't. Like, truly, we're a little out of order in talking about this in Bowie Me because there's a very light Bowie connection.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting to look at this very early example of David Bowie's writing before he was David Bowie even. He's just some dude in London at this point, right?
Yes, and it's definitely very indicative of like how he approached things, particularly early on in his career.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to all that.
Yeah. Did you know that this was originally a French song?
Only because we talked about it when we talked about Life on Mars.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I remember, that there was a translation, but no. Other than that, no.
No.
I also didn't really realize that Paul Anka wrote the English version, but I mean, he wrote a ton of stuff. It's funny. I was just talking about him because I was talking to someone about Jason Bateman.
Yes. Okay.
Recently, and Jason Bateman's wife, Amanda Anka, and I was like, that's her name, and I saw Anka, and I was like, is she? Yeah, she's related to. She's Paul Anka's daughter. So.
Oh, Paul Anka's daughter. That's weird.
Yeah, Jason Bateman is Paul Anka's son-in-law.
Son-in-law.
So that's fun. A little trivia for you there, but not that important to the song itself.
No.
Yeah. Did you listen to a lot of this song growing up?
No, I knew it because everybody knew it.
Right.
It's just a song you kind of knew. I think my big connection, the reason this song sits in my head, and of course it's why I opened with it, is the My Way killings. In the
right. I
Philippines.
remember hearing about that over the internet, and like that's such a strange thing. I guess it almost feels like, well, killing is pretty extreme, but it really feels like one of those like meme things. Like pineapple on pizza, where people are like, yeah, we're really pissed about this thing that actually doesn't really matter because of like someone said it's the worst thing ever. And now we, as kind of a joke, but we've taken it too far, agree?
Right.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying there. But this one, unlike the pineapple on pizza, ended with people dying.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's died from pineapple on pizza yet. But I'm willing to give my life.
I'm willing to die on this hill, man.
But yeah, for some reason, it just makes me think of that. Because, like, can you imagine, like, killing someone for bad karaoke or for doing a song you didn't like?
For doing a song, or like, whatever the ultimate logic behind it is. It's crazy. And here's the thing. If you look at My Way Killings on Wikipedia, it has its own page.
Right.
And there is a section just entitled Karaoke Rage in Other Countries. So this isn't even an exclusive My Way phenomenon.
It's just people get pissed about certain songs. This isn't like some apocryphal. I guess it's hard to say. But like, did this really happen?
It did happen, yeah. My partner Greta actually works with a guy from the Philippines, and she asked him this week, she's like, do you know about the My Way killings? He's like, yeah, they were crazy. Like, a lot of bars don't like have it on the list anymore. He's like, but people will still go up and sing it. And the bar gets like so quiet. You're like, what the fuck is gonna happen?
Still a sore point? That's funny.
It's crazy. So here's some other incidences of karaoke rage.
Right.
They go all around the world here. In August 2007, a karaoke singer in Seattle, Washington, was attacked by a woman who wanted him to stop singing Coldplay's Yellow.
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
No
talking
death
shit about
in that
Coldplay.
incident.
I don't really care about Coldplay very much, though.
No. Here is one that's almost wilder than all. What's crazy about the My Way killings is the sort of isolated nature. It's like one death per performance.
Yeah.
But here in March 2008, a man was arrested in Thailand for shooting 8 people to death, including his brother-in-law. And dispute stemming from several karaoke offerings included repeated renditions of John Denver's Take Me Home, Country Roads.
Okay, all right. I guess karaoke, there's often a lot of people drinking, so if someone starts to get annoying, they might get mad, more intensely.
And I guess it's like a lot more popular in the East as a recreational format than it is here in the West, I find.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more karaoke bars and a lot more people participating in that. When I was doing research on the My Way killings, apparently there was another incident from 2018 where some old guy, and it was like a private birthday party function. This song came on and he tried to wrestle the other guy for the microphone, and the guy ended up getting stabbed and died. And it was
oh my gosh! Wait, because he wanted to sing it, or
because he was trying to strong arm his way in there, and the other guy fought him for a bit, and I guess decided he needed to take him out.
I guess, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Not the stabbing part, but the I wanted to be the one to sing this. That's my karaoke song.
That's my karaoke song, yeah.
And I also feel like I don't really do karaoke, but only because, I don't know, I get nervous.
Of course, yeah.
So, I definitely, if you had a prepped song, there can be a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah.
Even though there shouldn't be, but I feel like there could be. Because it is kind of a vulnerable thing to do. And then you're I have this one prepped thing, and now someone else has taken that, and now I'll look like a fool or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I've almost run into that issue a couple times because I listened to a podcast where they talked about what some of the best karaoke songs to do are. And one of the people on there was a karaoke jockey, a VJ or KJ or whatever they're called.
KJ, yeah.
And they were like, these are the ones I do. And since I some of these are good, Walking in Memphis,
yeah,
I think came up, and Graceland. No, not Graceland. You Can Call Me Al.
Yeah.
I'm like, these are solid ones. And I've had times where I come up there and they're like, I almost did this one, so I'm glad you're coming up to do it. I'm like, oh, sick. Because that's what a lot of these KJs do is kind of pull from the same list of classics.
Yeah, stuff that radio hits and things that a lot of people know.
Yeah, and easy enough to sing, regardless of your vocal condition.
Yeah, not super crazy vocal runs and stuff. And yeah. Although sometimes, I feel like my voice is maybe, I don't have a low voice, but I feel like it also doesn't necessarily go very high. So I can struggle with some of that stuff, but I might just not know how to mix.
Hey. That might be it, Alex.
I don't know.
You gotta learn how to mix.
Gotta learn how to mix.
Me, I took a mixology course back in 2011.
That's true. You're certified.
I'm certified, brother. Yeah. That's completely off the beaten path from most of what My Way is about.
Connection.
That's the karaoke connection. It's all I ever think about with this song. This song sounds older to me than it is. It's a 1969, the English version.
Right.
And it sounds like 50s to me because
it's older style, right? Because it's still obviously it's Frank Sinatra. It's the sort of crooner style, and Claude Francois.
Yeah.
But it's a kind of big band jazz influence thing, which would have been more common at the time, and we've mostly phased out of popular music now.
Yeah.
With that, beyond some kind of featured or novelty type stuff that I can't even think of an example of, but I feel like would happen.
Right.
Or wouldn't be such a surprise.
Big funk bands is
yeah, I guess that's kind of where it is nowadays.
That's kind of where you don't get big band. You either get orchestras or the next biggest in line is a large funk band.
Right, unless it's a specific
ensemble.
Jazz big band thing.
Yeah.
Which is not popular music.
No, certainly not.
So it definitely has that older style. And this is also, I can't remember the exact timelines, but we've talked about Frank Sinatra before and about how he kind of had a thing and then maybe faded away a bit and then came back.
Yes, he definitely has a comeback.
Yeah, and this is comeback era
Absolutely.
Sinatra. Yeah.
What a
So
song
it's
to come
later.
back with, like musically speaking.
Yeah, I
that's
don't know
another
what the
thing.
comeback song was, but this is definitely.
This like solidified it, if nothing else.
Yeah, because we talked about Fly Me to the Moon a while back as
That's
well.
correct, yeah.
Which I think was also like later days.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I was also surprised by that, whatever date that one was made.
Yeah. Because I guess we have this image of like, oh, well, the 60s hit and now it's rock and roll all of a sudden.
Yeah,
but
and
it was
and
more
now it's the
gradual than
Beatles.
that.
But Claude Francois, famous singer, was once
Right.
described by French President Valéry Giscard d'Estaing as being, quote, the French equivalent of the Beatles, meaning the
Yeah.
great talent of a generation.
Possibly. Oh, it says. Okay. I'm sorry, I was looking at that. It doesn't say when that was said, but he also died fairly young
Oh, yeah, he did, too.
from electrocution.
That's wild.
I looked up, I mean, just in the Wikipedia article, I just looked up the story, and he was like in a hotel taking a bath,
Mhm.
noticed that a light fixture was crooked, and went to straighten it without like getting out of the bath, and like
Oh,
and this
no.
like died. I know, like in a bath, which is like rough.
Fuck, that is rough.
In Paris, I think. So it's possible it was like older wiring,
Right.
but which obviously it would be because it would have been in 78. But yeah, so
Oh,
died fairly young. But yeah, it was a big deal in pop music. Like he has this, obviously, and I was looking
Mhm.
through. At first, I thought, oh, he did like the original version of several songs, but actually, what happened was he did French, like the opposite of this. He did a French language
Okay.
version of several other pop songs. So like,
Yeah.
there's one he did Cette année-là, which like is a French version of December 1963 brackets. Oh, what a night! And at first I was like, he wrote that song, but no, he didn't. He just did it. Yeah, exactly.
That rocks.
I know. So yeah, he's done a ton of stuff and was a big deal in at least French language circles, at least
truly
in France.
performer. He had a nickname, Clo.
Clo,
You don't get a
yeah.
nickname without being super cool. He's a pop singer, composer, songwriter, record producer, drummer, and dancer.
Yeah, I wonder what sort of dancing.
I am curious about
I
that.
like that drummer. What kind
yeah,
of drumming
like, was he
also.
Drumming and singing? Was he? Yeah, what?
Yeah, so interesting dude. Also, like born far enough was in the past. He was born in the 30s in
Mhm.
the Kingdom of Egypt because he's like French enough for that.
Damn.
So like, yeah, a lot of colonialism going on.
Yeah, truly, like, it's all interesting characters, like, even moving through the covers. Like, naturally, there's a billion covers of this, but I picked
Yeah.
out, I think, some big names and some
think-
fairly good
Yeah,
performances.
absolutely.
The only thing I'm really upset about is I could not find, so this Hervé Villard character who allegedly released a B-side of the original English lyrics of the, like, before it was Come Dabitude, when it was For Me. I
Right.
cannot find a single trace of this online.
Yeah, that's so strange. The trajectory there of like written in English, translated, and then
Yeah.
just adapted, not even like translated back, just completely adapted.
Yeah, just completely adapted. Yeah, this song doesn't like have a real version because it is only ever adapted. It's never like
Yeah,
a solid through line.
that's very interesting. It's also funny that it was My Boy, and then by some. Oh no, wait, that's never mind.
My boy.
Yeah, never mind.
Okay, is that something else?
That's something else.
Okay.
Wait,
okay.
this is the original version of My Way and composed the music. Okay, this is another song he wrote. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, never mind.
All right.
Never mind.
That'd be crazy if it went from My Boy to
My
Way.
Boy to Come Dabitude to My Way, and it's like,
To
how did
My
that
Way.
happen? It didn't happen. That's how it
It
happened.
didn't happen. But we gotta get, because we gotta talk about like 3 different sets of
Yeah,
4
you're
different
right.
sets.
We got
We got so many lyrics to talk about. Let's
All
get
right.
cooking. Come Dabitude,
Come
like I
Dabitude.
mentioned in the intro, it's about a couple who's kind of just in a rut.
Yeah, it's really about that. Like going through kind of the motions and being like very passionless, and you sort of get these moments of this person like staring at, like waking up and like not interacting with the other, and like just going to work and kind of coming home being like, this isn't what I want.
Yeah, they don't really have direct interactions. One of them is always asleep or pretending to
Yeah.
be asleep. And the repeated through the lyrics is the title line, Come Dabitude, as usual.
Yeah, like this happens as usual. I sit alone, drink my coffee as usual. I'm late.
Yeah,
like I don't really care about that stuff. But there's also moments where like you can tell they care about their partner, right? Because they're like
Mhm.
sitting on the edge of the bed and like, oh, I don't want them to be cold, so
Yeah, they pulled the sheet
put
up.
the sheet up, but like it doesn't really matter. and then they're cold later, and like you can see they like raise their collar, so you kind of have that. Oh well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, let's run through these because we're using Google Translate, or at least I am. You can let me know, Alex. I know you've looked at 2 different versions of this.
Yeah, I found another like fan translation which is similar, but they changed it. They changed the lyrics a bit.
Yeah.
I just need to find my thing, but yeah, we can get cooking.
So here we go. It's according, and this obviously this is translation, folks. We don't know the original French that well. I was able to pick out words and be like, oh yeah, that is hair.
Sure is.
But that's about the extent of my ability here. So we're relying on a translation. We might miss out on some nuance, but I think the general idea translates pretty easily. I'm getting up and I push you. You don't wake up as per usual. On you, I pull up the sheet. I pull the sheet up on you. I'm afraid you're cold, as per usual. My hand caresses your hair, almost in spite of myself, as per usual. But you turn your back on me, as per usual. That's kind of the first scene. Is
these fan lyrics actually translate as usual to like every day.
Okay, yeah.
And they said they did it for a rhyme, but I don't know what they're trying to rhyme it with. They have like this whole explanation of like, I just wanted to rhyme better, and like I thought it fit better. And I'm like, okay, but up, you, up, day. What rhymes there?
Up, day. No. Is there something after day?
Well, it's at like every day, and like that's the 4 lines to the like whatever. On you, sheet, freeze, day. Like it. I don't know, man. Anyway, so yeah, it's the story. They're telling the story. This is the like waking up and being distant and kind of wishing they weren't, and then having to go on with their day.
Like caressing their hair because you still feel for them, but because he says like almost in spite of myself. It's like, well, I know the love's kind of dead, but there's still like I still do kind of love you too. It's a little like a contradictory position to be in.
Yeah, and I almost wonder if like the caring itself feels rote as well.
Right,
you know?
The caring is just a habit. It's not even there's not even like heart behind it anymore.
So very sad.
It's a very sad song. So then I get dressed very quickly. I leave the room as per usual, all alone. I drink my coffee. I'm late as per usual. Quietly, I leave the house. Everything is gray outside as per usual. So that's kind of your next bit. Just a quiet, like a moment of solitude.
Yeah, with the other person like in close by.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because I feel like you could characterize this sort of interaction kind of either way. Obviously, this is very like cold and distant, but I do, in my mind at least, have a feeling like just being close together, even though you're not interacting directly, could feel very intimate and positive.
Right.
You know, like, oh, I'm getting ready, they're sleeping, and like, oh, look at them, you know.
Yeah, because there could be that, like, well, I've tucked them in. I know they're going to sleep for a bit longer. I can enjoy my coffee a bit. Oops, I'm late.
Yeah.
Because I'm caring so much, but that's okay. I do this all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I know later, well, whatever, you know?
Yeah. But I think it's definitely colored by the performance, and two, the instruments. Definitely play this to a sadder, colder tone than like a one of being like, this is just casual love.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting because I think just looking at the like facts of it, it's like pretty neutral, but then you have to get into the head.
Space, like in terms of lines that really color it, you have almost in spite of myself after caressing your hair is probably the only like really really telling one.
Yeah, and then the repetition of as per usual, where
as
it's like,
per usual,
it just feels very repetitive and possibly meaningless.
Yeah, people don't usually say that for like things they're quite happy about.
Yeah, especially that often.
Yeah.
Comme d'habitude.
Everything's gray outside. I'm cold. I raise my collar as per usual. As per usual. All day I'm going to play pretend as per usual. I'll smile as per usual. I will even laugh as per usual. Finally, I will live as per usual, and then the day will go away. I'll come back as per usual. You will be out and not yet back as per usual. So throughout the day, he pretends things are fine, and that the relationship it's fine for it to be hollow, basically, and tired.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's not. Sorry, I'm looking at the fan translation that I have, and they translate coffee to chocolate.
Huh.
I don't know why. Like, I drink my chocolate.
Okay, I drink.
Like, what is it? The 1930s?
Je bois mon café? No, it's cafe.
It's cafe. I don't know why they would do that.
Chocolat.
Maybe they don't know French.
They're like, I don't drink coffee, so I just wanted it to be something I would drink.
I don't want to promote the use of caffeine
I wanted it to rhyme with day. You're like, oh.
Even though there's caffeine.
I know what rhyming is.
Yeah. I want to try with chocolate. Drink my cafe latte, and then rhyme.
Doesn't know what French is. Doesn't know what rhyming is. Does this guy know anything?
I don't know. I feel like I looked it up because I was like, I need a translation, and it's just kind of not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I also kind of like, and I don't know if it's that meaningful, but like you get the lifting fabric to warm a person up imagery twice. Like you get the I'm on the bed, I cover you with the sheets, and then because I think you're cold, and then I'm outside, I lift my collar because I'm cold. I guess the imagery I'm thinking, or like the comparison would be, now there's something between you and the outside world, so it's just separation.
Yeah, the image of somebody lifting their collar is kind of like insulating, right? Both literally and like figuratively. You're cutting, like you said, cutting yourself off. So there's a bit of that. There's also like he has to raise his own collar. He raises the other his lover's sheet, but he has to take care of himself.
Right. There's no one to do that for him. He has to kind of cover both. So yeah, maybe that's part of it too, is sort of one person putting all the work into it and not getting anything out.
Yeah. And there is like this loneliness that kind of goes through this section of him, like going through his day. I'm gonna smile, I'll laugh, but like it's and then the day's gonna go away. He's just killing time. Like he's just trying to get through the day.
Yeah, basically, and separately,
separated
by sheets or collars.
Sheets, collars, and it seems their work schedules, because he comes back and they're not yet back, as usual.
As usual, still all alone.
Yeah, all alone. I will go to bed in this big cold bed. Again, the cold's coming up. As per usual, I'll hide my tears as per usual, but as usual, even at night, I'm going to play pretend as per usual. You will return, yes, as usual. I'll wait for you, as per usual. You will smile at me, yes, as usual, as per usual. You will undress yourself, as per usual. You will go to bed, as per usual. We will kiss, as per usual, as per usual. We'll pretend, yes, as usual. We will make love, yes, as usual. We'll pretend, as per usual, as per usual. We'll pretend, yes, as usual.
As usual. Yeah, it says "Comme d'habitude" a lot right at the.
Yeah, he really rips on those at the end.
Which I guess is cool. I wasn't 100% into that, but I think it makes sense because now it's like after every line, it really emphasizes that feeling.
Yeah. In the same way that Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire" emphasizes a feeling of rushing forward by constantly listing things, Claude Francois here emphasizes repetition through repetition.
Yeah, amazing. It's barely even a metaphor.
Much like Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire."
Yeah.
But yeah, very like he comes back to a cold bed. He cries for a bit and pretends more. He's like, nighttime doesn't change. I'm still just pretending that things are okay. And yeah, we're gonna fuck, but it's all pretty hollow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a sad song. It's at least a hollow feeling, at least from one side. Maybe the other person doesn't know because they're not really saying anything, right?
Yeah, they don't seem to have a lot of time together, and their only time spent together is fucking. So maybe it doesn't come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could be a bad communicator.
So it's clearly a person who's, in a place in life and doesn't know how to fix the problems that they've surrounded themselves with.
Yeah, they're stuck and they don't know how to get out.
And that's what the song's about.
Yeah, that really is it. But how do they convey that with music and sounds, Alex?
Do they convey that with music and sounds?
It's a classic.
My notes.
We got like kind of old school strings on the track. Some woodwind melody, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot of that strings and flute kind of doing the like up. You get this like gentle up down of the flute melody. And the strings are mostly kind of on the ambient side, but they there's a few like runs and things like that.
Yeah, and there is like a guitar arpeggio kind of filling some space, and some kind of vibraphone too.
Yeah, I said marimba, something like that. One of those guys. That was just a guess because I assume if it's like a larger like orchestra kind of or band, that was what they would have. And like a really low bass, but that's kind of what you'd expect.
Yeah, kind of standard for the era. He's not doing too much. He gets a bit of a groove going later, but
yeah, it's like bum 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 bum, like
Bum bum.
that
Yeah,
kind of
he's
thing.
really just doing some like
Bum,
root fifth.
bum. And then you get backup vocals too. Yeah, exactly. Where is it?
Around like 30 seconds.
Yeah. Only briefly, and then they kind of morph into horns. So actually, once you hit 30 seconds, you get that same melody, but on horns.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, you get it.
So you get
with
boop, 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 and then it's like wah, 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 wah.
yeah,
Horns.
100%.
Yeah, so that's like a very gentle part, right? So that's
Mhm.
kind of the intro, like the waking up and the like staring longingly section.
Yeah, that's a good like cold morning kind of music vibe. It's got a bit of that to it.
There's another sound because it kind of like cuts down, right? He says a line and then it cuts down a bit and you get the like bump bump bump. I believe it's a harp.
Yeah, like a harp. It's definitely plucked.
Yeah, I was
You
thinking
probably write a harp. I was like
pizzicato
violin,
strings.
but yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's a harp because I think later on you get like more of like sweep type sound on the harp, which you'd maybe expect more from a harp. And also some of the other versions of harps in them, which might be a reference.
Right.
To this.
I could believe that.
Yeah. But then the arrangement kind of builds up. You get more strings.
Yeah, they come in a lot stronger on that second verse. You get a bit of more lower end to them.
Yeah. And then the bass starts like bowing, right? Like you get a bow on the cello or double bass or whatever. I think. It sounded like that to me, but now it doesn't anymore.
Yeah, I'm not hearing it.
Yeah, I'm just hearing the plucking.
You might have caught that like first riff of it where it's that lower bit that's like oh, maybe. Which sounds like some bowed. Now I've lost that moment. Like 46 seconds.
Yes. Blah, 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 blah. That's what I was talking about. So just a little bit of that. But it's pretty early on yet. There's a lot of song left. And we don't have any harp right now, but I think it comes back later. Pretty sure?
Yeah. You get that same like end of the verse, comme d'habitude, bump, 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 bump.
Oh, yes. That's right. And of course, I mean, we talked about the lyrics. Structurally, there's no like chorus. It's a bunch of lines, and then eventually later he says "Comme d'habitude" a lot.
A lot, yeah.
So it's almost like your outro kind of chorus repetition, but it's really like a refrain.
Yeah. And we do kind of set up the structure for even the My Way versions here, where like the first two verses relatively quiet. And then your third verse is your big pickup. Oh,
yeah. Huge pickup. Really, there's 3 levels in this song. And the third level, like, this is like as high as it gets, basically. And then we get there again later. But there's some up and down. There's even some guitar in this third verse, I believe. Just a little bit. Because, I mean, it's still not really a style of music where the guitar would take the lead.
Yeah, but it's definitely like, it is there.
And then like more drums and stuff.
More drum. Yeah, the drums really roll us into this, and they're
big horns.
Big horns. The bass is grooving here too. It's boom, 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 boom.
Oh yeah, you said we actually get like a little groove.
And this is the section where it happens.
Boom, boom. It's still pretty like bump, bump, like 4/4. Bump, 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 bump.
Yeah, I guess it's just picked up the pace though, so it sounds a little smoother.
Yeah, because before it was like bump, 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 bump. Yeah. Pretty spaced out, but it's much less so. You're actually getting like each beat, right?
Yeah.
And then there's some really low horns in this part too.
Right. Yeah, that filling out the lower end while like, Claude Francois and the higher brass are almost competing to be loudest.
Yeah. It's a really big part. And definitely like in this like it's orchestrated, right? Like it's arranged style, and everything kind of has a place and does its own thing in different ways. So different kind of approach than you might get in like a rock and roll type version that we're maybe more used to.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Or modern pop. But yeah, you get all those different parts.
After that, we come right back down.
Yeah, quite a bit. Like second verse level.
Yeah.
Energy.
Yeah, because those strings are there and kind of driving right and early. Dun, 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 dun.
So yeah, it quiets down a bit, just for a bit. Because by verse 5, I don't know if you have anything to say about verse 4. I don't really, because it's kind of
Verse
the same.
4 is kind of filler, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, just like I guess it makes sense structurally, but like it's very similar to verse 2.
And I get, yeah, you kind of do need it because you can't just go 3 to 5 where it's big.
Yeah. And then it goes back up to, level 3, verse 3.
Yeah.
Levels. And then verse 6 is that as well, but it's also kind of combined with the shouting like every day constantly. Yeah. Or like every day, as usual.
Yeah.
I'm reading the fan lyrics. I gotta close this. They suck.
It's fucking drinking his chocolate.
Drinking his chocolate.
Every day.
Every day. Yeah. So then you get back up there, and then you just he's just really going all out on the singing.
Yeah. I honestly, this is the section that I think was stuck in my head the most of any version this week.
Yeah.
He just like rips and then. Yeah, they do like a big build. It's so if you go to about like 3:15, you get this big build that then he's just like, and we're gonna do it again. And then he's like right back into it.
Oh yeah, it sounds like an end.
Yeah.
Oh, come back, dude. Oh, he's not done yet,
dude.
He is not done yet. He just keeps
not
going.
done.
Yeah, awesome. That's Clo.
Yeah, it's bombastic, and it being a foreign language and me not, I understand the lyrics to read them translated, but to hear them, besides as usual, I don't really know what's going on at any specific moment.
Right.
So I can kind of get into it from a disconnected angle, because part of me feels like I get that he's like passionate, and then it's like, the pain of like nothingness is getting to him.
He's crying out like, why can't I do anything about this? Like, why can't we can't even talk about it,
Exactly.
So he's hurting.
He's hurting. So, yeah, but you said this section didn't do it for you that much.
Did I say that?
I think maybe you did. Maybe I just felt like you weren't as enthused as me. No.
Oh, maybe. No, I mean, I thought it was cool. At first, I thought it was a bit repetitive when I first heard it. And just comparing it to My Way, he doesn't have there's no equivalent, right?
Yeah.
Where he says My Way like 100 times. He doesn't do that.
He doesn't do that.
But like it makes sense because the song is so different from My Way in terms of like the topic.
Yeah, the topic and the structure. Because if you said My Way a bunch, we'd be like, we get it. It's
it's your way.
Did it your way. Okay.
Then the killings would be justified.
Yeah, but, absolutely. Shut the fuck up about your way.
We get it. It's your way.
Is this a Burger King ad? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Oh man. But no, it makes sense because of how he's telling the story and how everything is just like, yes, it's repetitive, and then you even repeat how repetitive it is,
Yeah.
So it makes sense, and it's a good presentation.
And that's why I can only go out on a fade out because it just keeps repeating, bro.
Yeah, and it's another one where it makes sense, right? Because it's like it's not ended. There's no conclusion. It's just that day is over, and then it's going to happen again.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah.
So that's the original song, made in 1967, so there's no music video. We're now going to move to the version that never was, Even a Fool Learns to Love by David Bowie in 1968.
There was a time, the laughing time, he took his lot to every party, they'd point his way.
Yeah, interesting. So I'm looking up the lyrics to this one, and they seem to be more than are in the version we actually listened to.
Yeah. So my guess is, because even listening to the demo, it sounds like it kind of cuts.
Yeah, there seem to be like multiple versions or split across different takes or whatever.
Yeah. So I imagine like the lyrics were probably found whole.
Right.
And
they could have been written down somewhere.
The demo was just found in pieces.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Because I'm guessing Bowie's lyrics were kept in pretty good condition because some of them just went on auction for like $1 gajillion.
Yeah, he seems like the kind of guy who would like keep old notes and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Hard to say.
But I'm sure he had like notebooks and stuff full of lyrics.
Yeah.
At least the ones he didn't cut up.
And I do like I think I trust these lyrics as being genuine, but beyond.
Yeah, I mean, comparing them to what we heard is at least the first couple stanzas are correct. So
yeah. So this song is about a funny guy who almost falls in love, but then feels the sting of not being loved, and thus learns to love.
But he's like a characterized kind of as a clown, right?
Yeah.
Well, a fool, but it is definitely like that kind of. I mean, early Bowie in particular really had that influence.
Big in
You know,
the
he did like
theater,
mime,
yeah.
he did like pantomime type stuff, and that style of performance. And he did a lot of that on like stage, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
and
Didn't he like open for T-Rex with mime?
With mime, yeah, I think something like that. Like he definitely like learned pantomime stuff and like performed it. Particularly at this time in his life. So there's a lot of that kind of like theatrical style, kind of like almost carny shit. And this is like before Bowie was really Bowie as we know him, like the rock star Bowie, and was still kind of building out his persona. And this is really early, like just his interests happen to be theatrical in that way. So it's interesting in this song how they come across in the lyrics, right? Because it's characterized as the main character who is a fool, but like is a clown, a fool, you know?
Yeah, so he's doing double play on fool there.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you said, like Bowie was working on his persona, and as we've talked about, like he had so many persona shifts throughout the years.
Yeah.
And to see even in some of his earliest work here, he's still working with a persona, a character who's literally a clown. Like it's not the furthest removal, but it's like he's very zoned in on that idea.
Yeah, it's very interesting. As a Bowie scholar.
It's a bit of a Bowie scholar, yeah.
To analyze those sorts of things.
It's an interesting piece. And you can see like a bit of the like clumsiness in the writing.
Yeah. It's also sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's also like a bit of that like Pagliacci joke of like Dr. I am Pagliacci, you know? You gotta see this guy is hilarious, like, but I'm still depressed. Because like you get that in the story of like, oh, there's other people want him to make them happy, but he's not happy himself.
That's right. Yeah, 100%. And then there's this idea that he like puts a mask on. He's the funny man, and that he's also kind of just giving it to anyone in exchange for some validation.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets this glimpse of like what actual love is beyond performance. And that like is like angels to him, and then it's taken away from him. And so he's at once like damned by losing this potential love, but also like enlightened because he now knows what's real or what could be.
Yeah, get a little glimpse of the possibility.
Yeah,
he's learned to love.
He's learned to love. Yeah, it's a great title. It's a good premise. The one clunkiness I have with it is he shifts from first person to third person. And I don't know. It works fine when you're listening to it, but reading it, I was just like, that's a bit odd. But let's talk about these lyrics. There was a time, the laughing time. I took my heart to every party. They'd point my way. How are you today? Will you make us laugh? Chase our blues away. Their funny man won't let them down. No, he'd dance and prance and be their clown. That time, the laughing time, when even a fool learns to love.
Yeah, it's like you were saying. He's kind of getting this validation from other people by being the funny guy. Or a funny person in some way, and he's definitely characterized as the fool, as the clown, as the jester character.
Yeah.
Who's just, so maybe, I mean, it doesn't really say this, but maybe it's like kind of a shallow thing, right? Because he's just looking for validation, and all he really wants is just to make other people laugh.
Yeah.
And he's getting something out of that.
And yeah, like even from the other side, people just want him for the laughs. They're like, oh, you gonna come make us laugh? Like
it's very like functional. He's the funny guy, and like that's his role. So he's playing his role, even though it's not. So yeah, it's a little like microcosm of like Bowie stuff.
Yeah, and we know he's going here like very genuine. He says he took his heart to every party, so he's going there and he's giving his all. To this performance, and doing everything that he dance and prance and be their clown. He won't let them down. He's a working clown here, man. He's giving it his all. And this is called the laughing time. So this is before he kind of learns, because we eventually hear it called that hateful day later. So it shifts from the laughing time to the hateful day. So this is before he's learned to love, but this is the story of when even a fool learns to love. So we get the clown turned around and saw her smile. Oh, how she loved me. She'd clap her hands and beg me stay, to make her laugh, to make her life gay. Who wants the love of all the world when here was love in the eyes of just one girl? That day, that precious day, when even a fool learns to love. Yeah, he shifts here, the clown at the start to then me. I'm just like, well,
Oh, I see what you mean.
even if
So the
you
perspective
said like
shift is a little awkward.
this clown,
Yeah. It is interesting though. I do like sort of the idea there of the shift from, and maybe this is part of the perspective shift, because the shift really is from wanting to from being really focused on making everyone happy to being really focused on just one person.
right?
So I wonder if that's part of the shift, and maybe it is a little clunky, but I think that might be the idea behind it. Of
Yeah,
like,
and now
it's
that I'm looking at
more
the first
detached
verse,
versus more personal.
he starts the first verse, I took my heart to every party, and then he
Yeah.
talks about their funny man. So he then distanced himself from this performer character.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the start of verse 2, so verse 1 is I to third person, so first person to third person. Then we go reverse, because you're right, it's this moment of genuine connection.
Yeah.
We're now losing that distance.
Yeah, and I that's also kind of a thing that you saw with slightly later Bowie as well, where he did kind of distance himself, or he created the persona as a way to sort of distance his personal feelings, to be a little less vulnerable when performing. So like, the clown is not him necessarily; it's the character.
Right.
So like, when he refers to the clown in the third person, it's because it doesn't feel like it's really him.
Mm-hmm. Or at least not entirely him. He's just giving you bits and pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that interview from the Moon Age Daydream documentary where he's talking with the woman. She's like, well, maybe you're wearing a mask right now. And he's like, oh, maybe. Maybe. And you're like, oh, shit. So, yeah, it's like a bit of that. But yeah, he makes kind of like eye contact with this one woman who's particularly enthralled by him and is like, please stay, make me laugh. Make my laugh gay. Gay meant happy at this point in time, folks.
It also meant gay.
It also did.
But, I mean, still does mean happy, and also...
I don't think she's asking the clown to make her a lesbian.
Yeah, make my life homosexual. Don't do like a search and replace in these lyrics, and you'll be fine.
You'll be fine. And so, yeah, in this moment, he's kind of like, holy shit. When here was love in the eyes of just one girl. Who wants the love of all the world when here it was love in the eyes of just one girl? He sees the value of intimacy, basically.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a relatable story for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, we all kind of put on shows when we go to parties and things, right?
Put on a bit of a character, feel like a little like you're performing, and I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily contrast it in that same way of being like, now I have to like leave this behind to be this, but maybe.
But so we get that, and then he speaks of his marvelous dream. But oh, how I dreamed a marvelous dream, where all the heavens are so it had seemed, with thunderous applause, looked down from above on a clown and an angel so much in love.
Clown and an angel, that's fun.
That's quite imagery. Nice.
Yeah.
I'll stay with my dream. It takes such a dream, and even a fool learns to love. They've kind of mashed this next section here. So let's deal with that first, because this section basically gets repeated. This how I dreamed a dream.
Right. Yeah.
But he's talking about how phenomenal it is. He's like, this is such an incredible experience.
Yeah, and just like thinking to the future, presumably, if that's what the dream is, and it's so great. Like the heavens open and are like, this is the best thing. We all love this. Like we're used to the best possible things, and we're even inspired by this love. So he's fallen in love. Mm-hmm. He's learned to love, but also has finally made himself vulnerable. To an extent.
Yeah, the mask like slips a touch.
Yeah.
And then that turns out to be like the harm, because now we come to the next part.
Yeah.
The next verse. That day, that hateful day, the joke turned stale, the game was over. Those spiteful words, oh, go away, who wants to play? It's getting late now. My world, my funny world, had lost its mask and shown a broken heart. A sour time, when even a fool
learns to love. Yeah, it really seems to me at this point like there's an aspect of like he sort of now leaned more into like the funny persona, sort of, but that made him like distant kind of thing.
Right, he just leaned on his bits too hard.
Yeah, and then there's just like a point where it becomes like too much, and I don't know, is that what you get? Like they're just getting annoyed at his. They're like, this is not the appropriate time for this joke kind of thing?
Yeah, I think he maybe just kind of like you're right, misread the situation. He's like, oh, they love me. I'll keep playing this up. And they're like, well, the party's over. The clowning is done. It's getting late now. Like,
yeah, is it just more general, like we like the love ended kind of thing, or do you think there's more specificity in how it?
Well, I think he calls the love a dream for a reason. Is that here it turns out to be just that.
Okay.
Because I think that he like maybe a common situation for a lot of people reading too much into what somebody says. She's like, "Oh, come keep my life gay, you know, stick around." He's like, "Oh my god, this is
like
it.
We're having fun." He's like, it's true love, and maybe not.
And maybe not. It turns out it was just like this woman was just enjoying the time, and it's like now the party's over, and she's like, "Stop, it's over. What do you want?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh shit, here I thought she was seeing the real me, but it was really just the clown me, right?"
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's part I said I lost the mask and shown a broken heart. Have we got that far? Did you read that part?
I did read that, yeah.
Okay, cool. Couldn't remember. Which I guess is part of that. And also the mask is, made to protect you, right?
Mm-hmm.
From being vulnerable. So he made himself vulnerable and then learned, I guess that is something to, like, he learned to love, and part of that is opening yourself up to heartbreak.
Yeah.
And that is what happened, and he experienced that. So it's sad, but it's there.
Yeah, because you're kind of like heartbroken at this point. He lost his mask. He's got a broken heart. There's that idea of like, oh, all funny people are depressed. All clowns are sad.
Yeah, Pagliacci,
etc. And then he's like, but he tells us to like dial back in this final verse. He's like, but you remember that dream? I dreamed a dream where it was so incredible. He says, I'll stay with my dream. It takes such a dream. And even a fool learns to love.
Yeah, and maybe that's what it means to learn to love, is to have something like that to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the lyrics. Like you said, it's maybe a bit clunky, but I feel like that happens with some early Bowie. But as an appreciator of Bowie material, I really feel like even in this early stage, there's a lot of the like things I like about Bowie lyrics. Like they're always a little more thoughtful than contemporary stuff, right? Like he always has another angle on things, He's always been a really strong writer, and that came through in making him a superstar for decades.
Yeah, it's great. Like, there's such a solid concept behind this. There's some, like we've pointed out, some pretty great lines in there. A clown and an angel and love. Even just the title line, even a fool learns to love, is used very expertly as a refrain. It is a pretty solid piece of writing, and accompanying it is the most lo-fi fucking demo you can imagine.
Yeah, it's such a demo. I mean, one other thing I'll say related to it, because it's kind of now the combination of the lyrics and the music. The even a fool learns to love is a bit long for the melody.
Yeah.
And like some of that feels a bit clunky, and later on I feel like some Bowie songs really do that kind of stuff, but like it's less noticeable. Where he's like, he fits like a shockingly large number of words in a small amount of melody. And so it's hard to even know what he said some of the time. And this kind of has that too, but maybe a little less smooth. But it's so early in his career. He just hadn't quite gotten that. But you can still see those little things that come up later, which is it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear it because, like, he straight up records over the original track. So, like,
this is called, restored demo, right? Reconstructed demo.
So I imagine it's from the chopped up bits and pieces. This guy just like put them together.
There seems to be like 2 or 3 tracks or tapes or something of Bowie singing, and it's just placed over, like you said, the instrumentation from the original song, and it's only
the vocal track.
And the vocal track is there too, which actually I didn't realize that was what was going on at first. And I thought maybe he was doing both and maybe a more direct translation, because he's not doing a direct translation, obviously.
No, not at all.
But I didn't realize that at first. So I thought maybe he basically had his own lines and their lines and was just syncing them up, which I actually think that would be kind of a cool thing to do if you were doing like a direct fairly direct translation, to have kind of your backup vocals just being the original French vocals.
Yeah, that would be
And
interesting.
layering them. That would be cool, potentially. But that's not really what's going on here. This is just like a kind of cheap demo.
Yeah, so you mostly get him singing. He does some talk singing lines when there's like quotation bits. He says, "How are you today?"
Right, which is also similar to early Bowie stuff when it's more like novelty songs, you know?
Mhm.
And I'm trying to think of an example. Does he do that in The Laughing Gnome? I don't remember.
Alex, I only know really the Laughing Gnome by name.
Yeah.
As much as I love to reference it.
Yeah. I don't know that first David Bowie album very well.
No, I
at all.
know Rubber Band from that one.
Rubber Band.
Rubber Band. In 1910, I was so handsome and so something strong. My mustache was finely waxed and 10 feet long.
That's very relatable for you.
Yeah, that's probably why it sticks in my head. I'm like, could I get it that long?
Yeah, well, let's see. Do I need a rubber band?
Yeah, got it. They're involved somehow.
Yeah. But yeah, so musically, there's not a whole lot to say other than the lyrics kind of changing quality throughout this thing. And then at one point, they get like really shitty, and then they kind of switch back to being okay.
Yeah, it's like a guy had 3 tapes lined up and just like switched to them fairly seamlessly, but you can tell there's different quality.
And they kind of adjust the quality of the backing track. I don't know if that's part of the tape or what.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, that's it, man. That's
it. It's a young David Bowie singing over it. And then he later became a big deal. So think about that, folks.
Yeah, think about that.
But you want to think about more lyrics. You want to think about croons.
Yeah, we do want to think about more lyrics.
Way. Frank Sinatra, 1969.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain, my friend.
Yeah, we told you the story. Written by Paul Anka, specifically for Frank Sinatra, and intending to sound like the way Frank Sinatra spoke, which is interesting. Because he was talking about hanging out with, I mean, was it the Rat Pack?
It was the Rat Pack.
Yeah. So like Frank Sinatra, and I don't remember the other members.
Frank Sinatra's penis.
And just everyone who was into that. All right, here we go. Errol Flynn, Nat King Cole, Mickey Rooney, Frank Sinatra, and Humphrey Bogart.
Okay, yeah.
Possibly even Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Joey Bitch. So there's a lot of them.
It's
Humphrey kind of
Bogart
a vague
known
association
for,
of like
hogging cigarettes.
What?
Because don't Bogart that joint.
Don't Bogart that joint. Yeah.
Sorry, you were gonna say they're well known for.
Well, they're well known. Like it was sort of this like quasi community of like celebrities.
Yeah.
And like socialites in this time period, and they're like kind of younger, I think.
Yeah, they were stirring up trouble, drinking a lot.
At one point.
I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Or at least pretending to drink a lot.
Drinking and smoking and partying and whatever.
Because then you later get the Brat Pack, the Hollywood's Brat Pack, which is
which is the like 80s version.
Yeah.
With basically everyone who was in what's the guy who did Breakfast Club? Isn't that what it's mostly associated with? I don't actually know now that I've said it out loud.
Well, let me tell you. Oh, yeah, you got Emilio Estevez in there. You got Rob Lowe, who I don't think was in...
oh, no, he wasn't.
You got Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Judd Nelson, Anthony Michael Hall, Demi Moore. Demi Moore, really?
Okay, so I guess I don't know much about that, but a similar setup. But I think they were even younger, is the idea. The Brat Pack was younger. I said that about the Rat Pack, but I think I got that mixed up. The other thing, I think, is their like sort of pseudo-mob connections, because Frank Sinatra is kind of known for hanging out with mobsters.
Yeah.
He's talking about how the way he would talk is kind of inspired by that, which this song seems so tame compared to what I would expect, gangsters to talk like, but I don't know.
Yeah, and Ank even says something like that. He's like, "Oh, they all talk like mobsters."
Yeah. Which is funny.
Yeah. This is
because I did not get that from the lyrics at all.
No, I guess just like he like a line he specifically mentions is, "I ate it up and spit it out."
Yeah, which is a cool line.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a song about a cool guy who's maybe dying.
Yeah. Or at least, I mean, the other part of the story is Frank Sinatra was talking about getting out of the singing.
Out of business. Yeah. So yeah, he's facing the final curtain of performance. So
Yeah.
yeah, verse 1. Let's get into it. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear. I'll state my case of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, and much more than this, much more than this. I did it my way.
Yeah, I mean the setup, pretty cool setup. He's just like looking back on his life and kind of concluding that it was pretty good. Right? Like, yeah, I'm satisfied with that.
What's the Joe Walsh song? Is it Life's Been Good to Me?
Life's been good to me so far. Yeah.
It's the older
Similar
version
to
of that.
You know, he's saying like, I'm pretty certain of this. Like I've tried a lot of things, you know, I've gone a lot of places, and I did it in a way that was like satisfying to my own desires.
Yeah, he followed his own code, his own path, and managed to live a full life. And he's proud of it. This is apparently a big song at funerals. People love to play this one at funerals.
Right. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's inspiring. I feel like it is maybe missing that extra step, you know, that extra thoughtfulness. But I mean, we're not even done the lyrics yet.
That's sort of like, you know, a little punch in the gut. Or
something like, I always did it my way, and maybe that excluded me from connecting with other, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, because we open like up verse 2 with, I think, the dumbest lines.
Yeah.
Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention.
But like not many, because I'm still doing what I want, right?
Yeah, but enough that I'm going to tell you I had regrets.
Yeah.
But if it's too few to mention, couldn't you just mention them?
Yeah, right? Isn't that... It's so much easier to mention fewer, right? It's less work.
It should be like too little to mention, like the because they're small regrets.
Yeah, or something like that.
Too small something
that makes them seem insignificant as opposed to small in number.
Yeah.
But anyway, classic song.
Classic song. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway. And much more than this, I did it my way.
I did it my way.
So yeah, like reading this out loud, I would want to punch somebody who said this to me. So if they're singing it at me, like I get a bit of that.
Yeah, like he always completed what he wanted to do. Like never. He's like I never fail. Like
yeah, and saw it through without exemption. There's nothing I never saw through to completion.
Yeah, interesting that this is not only a song written for him and supposedly like about him, but also that he didn't like it.
It's very funny because Paul Anka talks about, he's like, I did it. He's like, I got into the mind space. I was Frank Sinatra when I was writing those lyrics.
Like, this makes me seem like a piece of shit. Like,
yeah,
or I don't know I can't remember what his quote was.
His daughter's quote is that he didn't like it. That song stuck and he couldn't get it off his shoe. He always thought the song was self-serving and self-indulgent.
Yeah.
And then Frank Sinatra has been quoted as calling it, quote, a Paul Anka pop hit, which became a kind of national anthem. So it's so funny to hear Anka be like, it's in Frank Sinatra's own words. And he's like, that's some fucking Paul Anka bullshit.
Some Anka shit. Yeah, also very funny because it was a big hit and he was like trying to get out at the time.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I got to keep going.
He's like, I guess I'll do this one. And then everybody's like, we love this song. This is the Frank Sinatra song.
Yeah. Frank Sinatra song. The next part gets called a chorus. The structure is very similar to the original where it's mostly just repeated kind of stanzas with a refrain. You could make the argument, I guess, that this is a chorus, and probably mostly only because it does follow the same structures or similar structure to the original, where the third section is
your
like the
highest
exciting
level of
one,
energy.
And then when we get back to another one of those, this one has 5 sections instead of 6. But when we get back to another one of those, it says that's also a chorus, but it's completely different lyrics.
Yeah, I guess like in like more conceptually, it's a chorus in that it's like the upbeat part.
Yeah, it's the like exciting kind of release part almost.
Yeah, but it is really more of just a different verse.
Yeah.
Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew, but through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all and I stood tall and did it my way.
That is still a cool line, but it is again like similar to the last one. It's like, I've had regrets. but whatever. And this one's like, yeah, sometimes it was tough, but I did it anyway, you know?
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, it was tough, but I fucking did it. I'm the best.
Which I guess is, I mean, kind of the like maybe gangster bravado.
Yeah.
That you.
Hey, I bit off more than I could chew, but you know what?
I still ate it up and spit it out. But I mean, that it's also cool to see that
come after us.
Yeah. Cool to see that like repeated imagery of like he bit off more than he could chew, but he still ate it up and also spit it out. Like he still managed it.
Yeah.
And that's a cool line. I mean, the way he delivers this obviously is great. You know.
Yeah.
I ate it up and spit it out. You know.
Yeah, he's got that Sinatra gravitas.
Yeah. Yeah. Still Frank Sinatra.
Yeah. I faced it all. I stood tall and did it my way. It's just like, yeah, there's tough stuff, but I'm just too great.
Yeah.
I stay winning, as the kids say now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they say that.
I think so.
Stay winning. That's not like what's his name? Charlie Sheen reference.
Maybe it's evolved from there. He was just winning.
Oh, he was just winning. Man, that is a like 12-year-old reference.
That's a lifetime ago, man.
Yeah. Okay,
I've laughed. Yes.
The next verse, yeah, you're gonna say it, but I'll let you read it out for a second.
Please, I've loved, I've laughed and cried. I've had my fill, my share of losing, and now as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, not me.
Oh, no.
I did it my way.
I did it my way. I guess this is a little bit of that other side, right?
It like tries to be
a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't really get much into it, but he does. You know, it does say I've lost. But once again, this is like, but it's fine, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But there's tears. He's crying, but now it feels better because he realizes how great he is, I guess.
Yeah, or maybe that like the things he was crying over weren't that bad in hindsight, right? He ate it up, he spit it out, he got through it, he's still standing tall.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, it's like with hindsight, yeah, things did go pretty well.
Yeah, he's like, hey, came out good in the end.
Yeah, it doesn't suggest really any reason that living life his way is could be a negative.
Could be a negative thing.
And I mean, that's fair. That's a fair position as well.
Yeah, that's fair. To just be like, hey,
live life your way.
I lived my life and I did it my way and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Try and stop me. May I say not in a shy way? Is that referring to the latter line, I did it my way, or to all the things he did? Well, I guess it's the same thing. It says to think I did all that and all may I say not in a shy way. As in, I did all that in a shy way? Or is he then saying, I'm going to say not in a shy way, the title line here, I did it my way?
Oh, no, may I say I did it my way?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, interesting. I wonder if, because I'm thinking it makes sense applying to both, because one, he's like, and I'm also super charismatic.
Yeah.
And versus like, I am not afraid to say that I did it my way. And I think in that interpretation, it fits more into his previous line, where he says that I'll state my case of which I'm certain. Like he's very confident in all this, right?
Right. And it seems to be like he's saying, I didn't like accidentally do things my way or try to sneak around it.
It's very deliberate.
It's very deliberate because then after not in a shy, he says, oh no, not me.
Yeah.
Like, I did it my way and I did it confidently and knowingly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it. And then finally we end with, for what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not. To say the things he truly feels and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way.
Did it my way. Yeah, little like conclusion, I guess. And also getting like mildly philosophical. What is a man? What has he got?
What is a man?
You know, if you don't have yourself, you have nothing.
Yeah.
So I guess it's his position that he has himself.
He's got himself. He's saying what he feels. He's not giving words out just to satisfy someone else. Except for Paul Anka.
a little bit Paul Anka.
And again, there's this idea of like there was hardship. The record shows I took the blows.
Yeah.
So he's like, I did suffer in some way for doing things my way, but I took it again, standing tall, looking hot while I did it. You know,
yeah, and he's just really confident about it.
He's very confident. And then we hit the outro. Yes, it was my way.
Yes, it was my way. Yeah, that's like super stretched out in the song. I mean, this is a great song to sing along to. You feel good singing along to this song. Yeah, I'll admit. But I can see why it would annoy
where
people.
You're singing it.
Yeah, don't sing it in the wrong island nation.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's definitely like one that you want to sing along to, and I think musically, especially on this My Way, the fucking like orchestra gets so up
Yeah,
particularly on
really
this,
cool
final
arrangement.
verse. Yeah,
Let's talk about it.
let's
Yeah.
talk about it.
This one actually has a bit of an intro. The original came in like immediately.
Yeah,
But and then you kind of get, there's like a Celesta or something. You get the dun 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 dun, kind of like that pop chords. Might be a harpsichord. I'm leaning toward harpsichord.
Yeah,
And then you get, I think, another harp. Yeah, because it's like
doing
a
that
harp sweep
arpeggio,
later.
that bump, bump,
Yeah,
bump,
exactly.
bump, dun, dun, dun.
But that doesn't last for very long. Oh, there's also that low bass because it's a similar style, right? We're still in that kind of like big band
Yeah,
jazz pop thing, old school.
we got a little
pop
more
jazz.
space for like Sinatra to Sinach.
True. I mean, Sinatra. Sorry.
I'd let his voice like have space there. Right?
Yes, he was really, as I understand, into like getting songs that could really hit like that part of his register, so he could sing that low part. But he's got that
Right.
quality to his voice, so even when he goes up a bit, you still kind of hear that.
For sure, yeah.
So it's also fun to imitate this voice, right? Because
Yeah.
the old like crooner sound, it's kind of
I didn't know.
yeah, it's like doing a pirate voice, right? Like
Yeah. It's just a
but
joy
you
to
get
do.
to sing. Yar.
Yarr.
It's exactly the same as Frank Sinatra.
I've always said Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
He sounds like a
Oh,
pirate.
that's Sinatra.
You best start believing in my way, missus. That's what I'm doing.
The record shows I took the blow. All right, that's enough.
I took the blow, sweetheart.
Okay, we're on verse 1. Yeah, we get that. Like really voice playing around in that low register. Very similar. Like the first verse and the intro are kind of the same musically.
Yeah, and then like second verse we get strings coming
Strings, yeah, they sort of do that. Like they climb up periodically and stuff
Yeah.
like that. There's also you start to get low horns. I think French horns.
in. Okay, yeah.
They kind of have that broadness to them. I don't know exactly how to describe French horns. They're not as like bright and in your face as a trumpet,
Yeah.
but they're not
Yeah.
as low as like a tuba, but they can kind of do that play in between them in a
Right,
very
it's-
interesting way.
It's because they
um,
smoke a lot of cigarettes. They kind of have a different vocal quality.
Yeah, they're French, so yeah, I think it's French horns, but I'm not an expert.
Yeah, that kind of
Yeah.
that comes in. Yeah, I would believe that to be a French horn.
As a French horn player for 10 months of my life, I'm kind of an expert. So
10 months, was that like middle school band?
yeah, it was 7th grade,
7th grade.
which I then did not continue with the band, regrettably. But
No.
I mean, let me tell you, regrets. I've had a few,
I had a few, and one I might mention.
and one I might mention. Anyway,
Yeah,
yes.
I also regret never being in band class, but I would have had
Yeah.
to play a clarinet, and that just didn't seem like the vibe.
Yeah, you could do some Supertramp stuff.
Oh, hey, if
Yeah.
I'd have known that, I'd have been in there.
Yeah.
Like, let me play Poor Boy on this
It's horrible.
clarinet.
Da-da-da. All right. Chorus. Where there's a chorus or a third
There
verse.
is a
perhaps.
chorus.
Did we talk
or
about the
third
second verse? Yeah, we talked about the strings
It's
coming
kinda-
in.
It's again similar to the original. It's that build with
Yeah.
strings.
This one is like a little sparse. There's still like pretty big arrangement, but like I feel like it's
Yeah.
easier to talk about the elements
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, oh, we brought in strings here, and the rest is still going.
Yeah.
And then by the time we get to that third section, the maybe chorus,
Yes.
yeah, it becomes very active. Like you get the build from the strings and then the horns. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like
it's
it's
big.
like angelic. It's
his
big.
voice jumps
the-
up too.
His voice jumps up. There is like a little extra percussion.
Mm-hmm.
Some good drum rolls there after spit it out.
Yeah, that's an exciting line.
And like that lower end is being filled out by those French horns. So you have that, and the French horns have like a sort of regal quality to them almost, maybe because they were used to announce royalty, but it gives it that extra juice.
A little bit of extra juice, yeah. So speaking of juice, it should be spatted out, right?
Yeah,
Like grammatically. Make
I'd
more sense.
shoot it up and spat it
like
out.
Past tense. He's changing tense.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's all.
fucking
Just making
Paul
sure I got that right.
Anka. Spit. Yeah, I didn't even
And
think
you
about
you wouldn't need to change anything. Like, why would you change the spit? But
Yeah.
maybe it has to do with how the gangsters would have talked. So kind of
Yeah.
Okay, where are we?
Okay,
Third verse.
We're with the gangsters.
Fourth section. We're with the gangsters. Yeah, similar to the original, drop down to the lower levels. Verse 2, more or less. A few more things. Like, you get some flutes in here.
Yeah.
Which kind of melds into those Frenchies later on.
Referring to the horns, everyone.
Referring to the horns, yeah. Not the dogs you can hear yapping.
No.
And then, like, there's some chimes here, too. So it's similar to the original, but I feel like they've added a little more, but they've brought it to the same energy level.
Yeah, emphasizing, like, gentleness through bonus instruments, being like,
through,
a little
let's do
a little woodwind.
You know, a nice, like, chime sweep
kind
of sound.
A little, like chimes in there, and then we soar right back up for the big final verse.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Very similar to the previous chorus. Bigger horns, and like there's actually like trumpets or something, and they're like blasting.
Yeah,
they just started blasting, and big like sweep. You get that harp playing and the big horns and like drum rolls.
Yeah,
Before like the end where it really quiets down, you get like the melody on just strings, and then Frank does the slow last line, and you get this like slow harp plucking. So very nice arrangement.
Yeah, if you like even you go like halfway through like 3:35, he already sounds as huge as he's gonna get, and then you go to like 3:45 when he's hitting the end.
Yeah,
you're like, fuck, okay.
Yeah, he's just going.
This big massive finish on My Way, big horn hits afterwards, and then this kind of like cool down we've got to have with the brass section. They go big up, and then they gently kind of lilt us down.
Yeah,
let
which
the
is
strings take over. And then we
a real like kind of classic thing to do, but yeah, they do just like horn doing the melody.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
Yeah, massive, huge. How could it not be a hit?
How could it not be a hit, especially with Frank Sinatra behind it?
Yeah.
So very nice arrangement. I like the instruments he uses, and like also the way it is similar to the original in some ways, but also I think changes it in a way that really fits with the style they're going with.
Yeah, it truly like Americanizes it in every way.
Yeah,
like lyrically to the way that it's arranged, to the Frank Sinatra in the front. It's
I think Frank Sinatra can maybe, I don't know, Claude Francois was a pretty big deal, so I don't know that Frank Sinatra had like that many more resources, but he seems to have pretty solid arranger. Not that I didn't like the arrangement on the original.
Yeah, I think just like we talked about a couple of weeks back for listeners, the main cultural export of the world is American stuff. So
yeah, we did
Sinatra
talk about that.
Comes off looking a little bigger. But you know who else had a big band, an orchestra, and a big name? Hugo Montenegro in 1969.
Hugo Montenegro.
And now the end is near, so I face that final curtain. My friend, I'll say it.
Have we talked about this guy? I feel like we have, but I couldn't find anything.
I don't like. I've definitely seen his name, if nothing else.
Yeah.
I did a lot of work for film soundtracks,
yes,
and some orchestra leading stuff. This is kind of his experimental album called Moog Power.
Moog Power.
And
That's fun.
So he is, I guess, band leading on this, and the vocals are done by one Gene Morford, who is an actor and singer. Who is known for this and singing the bass parts on 3 Toto songs.
Wow. 3?
Yeah, Rosanna, the other big hit that's not Africa, Hold the Line.
Hold the Line. And
a third track that I'd never heard of.
Fair enough.
I'll Be Down or something like that.
Yeah, don't know that Toto song.
Yeah.
That one time in Rome when we were discussing the best Toto song of all time, what the best Toto song was, that didn't come up.
I'll tell you what, did not come up. But yes, this guy's an interesting character. I bring up this vocalist because my first note for this one is, does he kind of sound like Frank Zappa?
Oh, because he...
It might just be the deepness of his voice or there was a bit where I was like, he's a little bit like Frank Zappa.
I think I can hear what you're saying. I mean, he's a little bit stronger singer, or probably a lot stronger singer than Frank Sinatra. Wait, Frank, fuck.
Zappa?
Other Frank.
Yeah.
than Zappa. But I think I see what you're saying, because this one kind of has that, like, there's a bit of like a jazzy sound to it in kind of like a psychedelic
little jazzy,
way.
little funky, little psychedelic.
Yeah, and it's definitely got that like psychedelia thing going on. 1969, so it's like the right time. It's kind of like it's groovy, right? So you got that kind of like groovy late 60s thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of like phasery effects. There's on the guitar, on the electric piano, or maybe it's a synth.
Yeah,
because this is Moog power,
like
right?
it's Moog power, so they're either from a synth directly or being processed through a synth, maybe.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I didn't notice the name of the album, and I didn't take note of any synthesizers on this track.
I didn't hear this and go like, oh, this is particularly Moogy.
Yeah, you don't get that like kind of like Moog sound, right?
Yeah,
but I don't know. I mean, they say Moog might not even be like a mini Moog, which is kind of the classic. Not that the like modular would have sounded all that different or anything, but maybe there's just more features and you can make it sound even more different. What else is going on in this one? There's like some guitars and stuff, so you get like some muted guitar strums. At first it sounds like acoustic and then kind of comes in with electric.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a neat sound. And then there's a bit that almost sounds like they're going to like a James Bond progression of like na, 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 that kind of thing. But it's only the first two chords. It just goes off to another one. So I heard that. 103 is my timestamp. So you can hear like da, na, and then it just does something else. So it doesn't sound like it at all. But you know.
No. But sometimes you pick up on that kind of thing where you're like, hey, is this going to be this? Oh, yeah, you can definitely hear it if you let the flow. It's like, it's the backing vocalist is.
Yeah, that sort of. I don't remember what the chord progression is, but it's very. Like, you can play it on a piano just moving one note between chords.
Oh,
and then the other two are the same. So it's like pretty simple. And then you just like move one note up and down a half step.
Yeah.
So pretty simple thing to do.
So yeah, you do get still like a lot of big instruments on this, but there is a much greater emphasis on more rock and roll, like pop music.
Yeah, you get the electric guitars and stuff. I think this one even has some French horn as well.
Yeah, I'd believe that. There's definitely brass of some kind.
Yeah.
A really groovy bass on this too. We open with the bass groove, and then that just kind of carries on throughout. So you got brass, you got bass.
So I'm listening to his voice now. I'm like, is there some Zappa in there? And I think I hear that because like he has that like this sound that Zappa gets where it's like a very conspicuous, I'm gonna say open throat sound where he gets like, you just weren't there, you know?
Like Zappa will really play up this sort of.
But like there's a bit of that in this where like he seems like he's really doing that like half yawn while singing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I think you would want to do anyway, but it sounds a little more airy in like the low end, if that makes sense.
I wonder if that's this guy, Gene Morford, attempting a kind of Sinatra style?
Possibly, because that would be a way... I mean, I could definitely see like a parody. Maybe we'll talk about one. Version doing that kind of thing.
He is also like a bass singer, though. He also sang in like a quartet at Disneyland, the Dapper Dans.
Disneyland.
Yeah.
Wow, what a thing.
So he's like a bass singer, so this could just be his quality.
True. Although, like, there's another kind of section to the song. The Regrets, I've had a few, I think.
Yeah.
Which seems like the wrong place for it. But
Regrets. I've had a few.
When he gets into that section, it's almost more like soul-ish.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like it's like the 131 mark is the timestamp I have.
Okay.
It's kind of before that, like yes, there were times. Right, it's the chorus, not Regrets. I had this section wrong, but it's like that third section. I'm sure you knew. Like it's a little more of that. Like now we're like kind of belting.
Yeah,
I feel like Joe Cocker could really like crush that.
Crush for sure. Yeah, he is kind of moving through like the popular musics of the era, your R&B, your rock and roll, your funk a bit, like a bit of jazz in there. It feels much more modern despite being the same year as Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, it's pretty quick, eh?
Yeah, they really turned this one out.
Yeah, so this is an interesting version. Also the end just like goes full instrumental. It's just like funky instrumental for a while.
Oh yeah, we're just out on that, some humming, letting that bass groove out. and that whatever Mogi instrument in the right speaker there just kind of giving her.
I honestly thought it was just a guitar. There's like kind
I think
of like
it is a guitar, but it
or
has
a
like
phaser.
it's got a wah or something on it. It's got Moog power running through it, baby.
It's got Moog power, brother.
It's got that Moog power. We got to power on though.
Yeah, we do. We got like a few more versions to go, and
We
there's
got a
some
few more
heavy
versions
hitters coming up.
Speaking of which, Aretha Franklin, originally in 1970, released in 2006.
And now it's coming in. I'm about to reach final curtain.
Yep. I know. I was listening to it. I was like, "This is not 2006 Aretha Franklin."
Because we've
Not that
talked
she
about
wasn't good in
Aretha that
2006,
era.
but like you listen to her in the 70s, and she's just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And that goes for this as well. I was listening, like, damn, this is so good.
Yeah, it's like a home run for it's such an easy
Yeah.
pick. Like,
But also, like, we talk about Aretha Franklin, or we've talked about her before, and she's always had, good stuff. This one is a little different from those, and it's a little more of like a rock ballad type arrangement. Kind of slows it down a
Absolutely,
bit, which makes sense based on the song. And like, yeah, it's a little less active, but it like kind of lets her sit back and just like sing, and it's like it's Aretha Franklin, so it's just incredible.
yeah, a lot of like repetition of lines and like light improvisation on lines to kind of
Yeah.
change them to fit a certain meter. She there's a line she says, which I'm trying to be certain instead of whatever the original line is, of which I'm certain. Yeah,
Yeah, just a little bitty changes here and there, but it's mostly probably it sounds ad libbed kind of
Yeah,
thing,
and but
Like
it
she's
does
filling space.
Yeah, it does play into a more vulnerable take on maybe I did the right thing, which I'm trying to be certain. There's some other ones she does here. I didn't put quotes around them because I'm an idiot. I don't know where I left those notes. But a better change. But about regrets, I just won't mention. Regrets, I've had a few, but about regrets, I just won't mention. Hey, you fixed it, Aretha.
Yeah, she fixed it.
She fucking fixed it.
We tried. We couldn't do it.
Yeah, and then she said, I did exactly what I thought I should do instead of I did what I had to do. Which again, speaks to a non-absolute kind of take.
Yeah, so it's a little less like self-aggrandizing in a way that is pretty fascinating and really effective.
Yeah. The one thing she tries but drops the ball on though lyrically, she says, "You took some blows and did it your way." So
that's the later is in the chorus or is in the second chorus. I feel like so you did it your way.
She skips the third and fourth verse and instead just does the final verse twice.
Right.
But yeah, she has this idea to kind of give it to the audience, and maybe this is part of the reason this song is an outtake from the album and didn't make the final cut.
It was not quite fully baked.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Because she changes it to your way in these verses, and that's a cool idea, but we need a little more runway to get us to that conclusion.
Yeah. But it's cool. I mean, the rest of it, musically,
oh yeah,
great. Like you get so much that piano leading for the most part, and you kind of get a lot of those even starts with faster chords kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Bum, 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 da, dum, bum. And then, am I looking at the right thing? Yeah. Well, piano chords with other backing stuff. Lots of those ad libs, like you said, and then even there's bluesy guitar licks that come in later with some strings.
Yeah, on the second verse there, I really like those.
Yeah. And yeah, lots of good stuff. I wrote so many good things, but I was not more specific. There's an organ later on.
You get bluesy guitar licks. Yeah, you get an organ that comes in there afterwards to give it a little bit of gospel.
Yeah.
She doubles down on the final verse, which is that's the money, right? So just do that twice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. There's there's one other thing I like to mention.
Mm-hmm.
The organ and violin kind of have this back and forth near the end.
Yes.
And that that sound, I'm hearing that, I'm that reminds me of the band kind of.
Oh yeah.
that's definitely the kind of music they're looking for. Or they're in. So I feel I don't know, cool sound.
Yeah. Oh,
definitely
a
lot of
awesome
what
back and forth
would be incorporated into Southern rock in this.
Yeah, this is a textbook for Southern rockers to look at. I like there's a really good drum roll around 310 after the one who kneels line.
Yeah.
It's like dun 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 dun. So you're like, oh yeah. So yeah, it's a good like power ballad kind of strong build on this.
Yeah, that like sort of spaced out drum roll. And of course the way she sings the one who kneeled, like her vocal performance on this is just like crazy all the way through. Yeah. It's wild that this is an outtake. I feel like with just a little more work they could have really, I don't know, it's great. Yeah.
They could have slotted this in. I should listen to the album Spirit in the Dark and see
maybe that's
what
just
beat
like
this out.
Incredible. I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, strong singer. We got another strong vocalist coming up next, though, Nina Simone in 1971.
And now the end is near, and so I got to face the final curtain. Friends, I'll say
some big names on this one.
Big names.
We've talked about her. Yeah. Not only have we talked about her, we talked about her on a Bowie episode.
That's right. Wild is
the Wind, which she did a version of. And Bowie's cover is basically a cover of her version, more or less.
That's right.
So it's quite long. It's also like kind of wild. Like, I like the elements. I know Nina Simone, like I've done a little bit of reading and learning about Nina Simone and the things she said about like her style of music, because it's like kind of classical. There's a bit of like jazz, but I think she was characterized as like, a jazz musician. And she kind of said like, I'm not just a jazz musician. She called herself like Black classical music artist or something like that.
I could see that.
Yeah, I feel like I've read that. I couldn't find the quote though. And yeah, this is has that, because it has like a bit of like jazz in there, but also definitely like classic stuff, and it's really like flowy. But the arrangement's so cool.
Yes,
on this one,
and unexpected because it's driven really quickly by these hand drums.
Yeah, but she's still singing slowly.
Yeah,
and then you even get some like da-da-da-da, like faster piano chords.
Yes,
as she's just singing kind of at the pace of the song.
Yeah, so you have this like very fast-paced instrumental track, and then her just kind of taking her time still and doing her very Nina Simone-styled vocals.
Yeah.
She's got a very iconic voice.
Oh, absolutely.
Which I'm sitting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, cool stuff. Also, I really like the sort of descending line after she sings the "I did it my way."
I did it my dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, it's like a big moment, and it comes up a couple times. I like that.
It's very interesting choices on this. She even does a slight lyrical change at 212. Instead of shy way, not in a shy way, she says not in a sly way.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah, it makes sense too.
That's a good change, I think, because it was a little ambiguous before. Let's see if it makes more sense. And I did it honestly, kind of. Yeah,
it's like I'm not being deceptive. I wasn't sneaking around.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
I think that's solid. And to say that she's already at not in a shy way at 212. They cook through this, and we get a very extended, just like instrumental section.
Right, for like a while. I don't have too many notes on that. There's a lot of instruments in this, though. Like I didn't really mention. Like I think this one also has like a harpsichord type sound, and like some sort of electric piano or like jazz organ kind of
that
deal.
Like ding doo 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 ding that comes in. Yeah,
and then like just a straight up organ.
So you do get some of the instruments we've heard in previous versions, but the soundscape, I guess, with that hand drum specifically, really like
it feels very different, right? It's a really cool thing to do to the arrangement.
Yeah, I was interested because there's actually some footage of her doing a version of this in a studio. You can see on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can see the hand drummer there. I was half expecting her in Super Mario Sunshine style to just be riding Yoshi, and that's where the drums would come from.
And the drums come in.
I was like, oh yeah, she's on Yoshi, so you get the drum track coming in. It's a very dumb joke for two people who've played and enjoyed Super Mario Sunshine.
Yeah. Gotta love it. I don't know. I don't know exactly what our demographic is. Do they also love Super Mario Sunshine?
On Spotify, it's 45 to 59-year-olds, so no.
Yeah,
my father's reaction to the game was anything to go by.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. All right. Oh, she also says spat it out because she knows tenses.
She's smart. Hell yeah.
And yeah. I don't know. It's really cool. You still get the big like orchestra type stuff. You get the big strings and drums.
Yeah, big swells.
And like choir backup vocals. But yeah, it just has a really different feel because of those drums and the sort of faster part in the background that is supporting the slower part. So really cool. Really, really
very
cool.
Version. One last version to talk about. Sid Vicious in 1979.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. You can't, I'm not
the Sex Pistols bassist, famously not a great musician.
Yeah. It's just Sid Vicious on that?
I've heard it called Sid Vicious. I've heard it called Sid Vicious and the Sex Pistols. The credits on it kind of go weird each way. I think it must be the Sex Pistols because there's actual instruments on this.
Right.
And it wouldn't be Sid Vicious playing that.
Right.
But
famous, not great bassist.
Not great bassist. Paul Anka said he had been, quote, somewhat destabilized by the Sex Pistols version. It was kind of curious, but I felt he, brackets, Sid Vicious, was sincere about it.
Interesting take. That sincere is the word he picked.
Yeah. Even more interesting is that other big fan of this song is Leonard Cohen.
Huh. Okay.
Who says, quote, I never liked this song except when Sid Vicious did it. Sung straight, it somehow deprives the appetite of a certain taste we'd like to have on our lips.
Yeah, because I was trying to, I was listening to it and I was like, what's really... Okay, so I guess to explain what we're talking about, it's kind of done as a bit of a parody, right? Especially the first section where he kind of is lowering his voice and doing a mocking tone.
Yeah, the time is
yeah, very clearly, not trying to hit any notes, not trying to sound good, but is trying to kind of imitate Frank Sinatra, but as if you were, mocking.
Yeah, so you're mocking him. And that in itself is honestly a good enough bit. Yeah,
it's a pretty good bit. And I guess, I was struggling with, but what are they making fun of? But now that we've talked about the song and talked about things that even Frank Sinatra doesn't like about it, kind of makes sense because it is kind of stuck up, So I understand. I was trying to think, why would... I was thinking just because the style, because it's kind of represents establishment, maybe, right?
Right.
It's this older style of pop music that gets associated with stiffs, maybe. But it's not just that. It's this self-aggrandizing thing of I'm so great. And this is me thinking about how great I am, basically. Yeah. So I think that does make sense.
Yeah. And that's a salt. He does that. His silly voice is okay, we're taking that down. He then makes this weird decision to alter some lines to not, then they don't really cohese into the same end goal as his mocking voice does.
Yeah,
he's not really mocking this Frank Sinatra character. Some of the stuff is just out of left field, and a lot of it is just homophobic.
Yeah,
leading to a punchline that he did have sex with a man. That is the punchline.
Okay, I missed some. I pulled out some individual lines, but I missed a lot of that stuff. So maybe
luckily it's on Genius. So the lines he changes. So he says, "Now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. You cunt, I'm not a queer."
Yeah, I picked up on that.
Case of which I'm certain. So he's been accused of being gay here.
Which possibly still a crime in 1978. Not sure.
I guess.
In the UK in particular.
The next one he does, he says, there's times, I'm sure you knew, when there was fuck, all else to do. That one, it's just because he's punk rock. Okay. Another one here about him doing drugs. He says, but through it all, when there was doubt, I shot it up or kicked it out. I faced the wall in the world and did it my way. Referring to him being a junkie and a delinquent, essentially.
Right.
I've laughed and been a snide because he can't admit to crying. He's a tough guy. I've had my fill, my share of losing. Now tears of side I find also amusing. To think I killed a cat, and may I say not in a gay way. Oh no, not me. I did it my way.
He says not in a gay way. Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't pick out what he said.
Yeah, luckily I had Genius here. Genius liked to note that increases the assonance in that line from 3 to 4.
Cool.
May say gay way.
Wow. So when he says I killed a cat, but not in a gay way, is he implying that he fucked a cat to death?
Yeah. Was killing a cat. Johnny Rodden's 1993 autobiography confers a story containing the line, Sid would strangle cats and slash himself with an old Heinz baked beans tin lid.
He had issues.
He had issues for that.
Okay.
That is certain.
So it's not implying he fucked a cat to death.
No, he's just talking about animal cruelty here.
Okay. Cool.
And then he wraps up for what is a prat? What has he got when he wears hats and he cannot? This is apparently a call out to Johnny Rotten, who often wore hats that Sid Vicious thought made him look like a prat.
Okay.
Just to say a dumbass. Say the things he truly feels, but only the words of one who kneels. The records show I fucked a bloke and did it my way.
I see. Okay.
So,
Because he was bored, I think is the implication.
He was bored, yeah. And I guess did it his way because he was bored. Maybe. Yeah, it's just like there could be something good here.
I'm not entirely sure what to make of this one.
It's a relic for certain, I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Yeah. Especially because it is Sid Vicious who died fairly young.
Yeah. But I do think like the base concept, mock and punk rock, the big fucking self-indulgent ballad My Way. Good concept.
Yeah.
There's
just a lot of other stuff in there that is maybe like, wait, where did that come from?
It's like 6 different ideas. The first idea is like, what if this is about a closeted homosexual? It's like, no, I'm not gay. I did fuck a dude though. That could be funny if delivered right.
Right.
It's certainly not done here.
No.
The next one is like just about him. So when he's like, when there's fuck, all else to do, I shot it up or kicked it out. I faced the wall in the world. Those are some lines that actually speak to the character of Sid Vicious.
Yeah. A lot of heroin use.
Yeah.
And like he's bored, but he's actually just a junkie.
And that's the idea of like, here's the true blue punk rock version of My Way. This is what it is to live a grotesque life, indulging in your
which is a cool approach. It'd be like, you want to do it your way, it can suck because if you don't take other people into account, then you live an isolated life.
Yeah. And so there's that idea. There's the idea of actually just mocking Sinatra and this sort of up their own ass individual, and then he gets that lost with mocking fellow band member Johnny Rotten.
Yeah, right.
It speaks to a mind that cannot like hold a single thought down.
It's not. So it's really interesting for that because it is all over the place in ways that I didn't even get when I was listening to it, and I wish I had spent more time on this one because I didn't realize so many of the lyrics were different. But he kind of the way he delivers them is very hard to understand.
I wouldn't have even had this one on if it didn't have like a section on the Wikipedia page with praise from Leonard Cohen and like Paul Anka being like, this is something.
It's definitely something, but it's a few somethings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of got 2 sections. The opening section where he's doing the silly voice, and it's like a softer instrumentation.
A little like fingerpick guitar, very echoey, kind of faster version of the Frank Sinatra harp. There's also stuff like this kind of screeching sound at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like almost like a Dolby Digital sound, you know?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, but like the other way, I think.
Yeah, reverse it.
And some strings. And then they like kind of breaks out. That's the more like direct Frank Sinatra parody. And of course, like I said, he's doing the like forced low vocals. But also kind of mocking and definitely like voice cracks and stuff. Like he's not
he's not doing a solid performance, technical.
Even after that first verse where they break into it and it's like more straightforward punk rock, there's still no really regard for like hitting the notes.
Yeah, but now it's your classic like Brit punk.
Yeah,
like,
that like early punk of like we have a very conspicuous British accent.
Yeah,
to be very vague about it. And like singing fairly flat. You get the guitars and it kind of screams some of the lines, and then like there's a guitar solo for a bit.
Yeah, and it's your very basic like driving rhythm.
Although I will say, sometimes I've like knocked punk rock adaptations for being like very straightforward punk rock and not bringing much else to the table. This is early enough that it's not really established, I think, and I wouldn't say this sounds like a straightforward punk rock cover at all.
Yeah, and they are adding in some flair and flourishes. Like while that one guitar is doing the chugging rhythm, we got another one doing some slides and like some screams here and there. So there is a little texture to this.
Yeah, so it's interesting for sure. It's unfocused, and but I can see why this one would be one people liked a lot because it's definitely different and it has something to say, but it has a few things to say, and they're not necessarily that related.
Yeah,
to one another. But I mean, it's a fair target. It's a fair target for mockery, I think, because
fair target for mockery.
Yeah, as much as I like the song, I get it. I get why it would annoy someone.
Yeah. Anything else to talk about on this one? Not really.
No, it's interesting.
Let's get to our final verdicts then. Interesting piece of work. Interesting piece of history. We got 3 categories today, Alex. The worst version, the best version, and the best lyrics. Because there's like 5 different versions of the lyrics.
Yeah, okay.
Alex, what's the worst version of this today?
Worst version of this today? Oh my gosh. I thought there were a lot of strong ones. I'm going to say, not just because he's the only unrecognizable name, I'm going to say Hugh Montenegro. Not because I thought it was bad, but because I just thought the other versions were stronger or more interesting.
That's fair. I'm
but again, didn't think it was bad at all. Totally solid version.
I really enjoyed it, so I'm not going to give it to that one. I think I'm going to go for Sid Vicious on this.
Yeah, fair enough.
Sex Pistols. I just clear it shook things up. I think there's some great bass ideas there. I don't think the lyricism stands up to even like standards of parody.
Yeah. I guess I'm giving it a bit of a pass for like the potential idea. But no, you're totally right. It's lacking in a lot of ways, even though there's some cool ideas behind it.
Yeah. But that's my take. Maybe that makes me an old fuddy-duddy. Maybe that makes me a prude. I don't know. Yeah. But Alex, what's the best version?
You're Pratt in that hat.
I am a Pratt, and I do sometimes wear hats.
What's the best version? This is tough. This was a strong week.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've got some big names here too, right?
Yeah, big names, and with those names, it's like kind of easy to slam dunk this song if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not giving it to David Bowie. His version is just a demo, and it's real rough. But like cool lyrics, but like you're not getting best.
Yeah.
I will probably give it to Nina Simone. I really like the way just that like contrast between like faster rhythm and the slightly slower delivery. And yeah, there's some really good stuff in there.
Yeah, I don't think you will find a more unique delivery of this song than Nina Simone's.
But I mean, the Aretha Franklin version is also top notch. Like those two,
it's a classic.
Those two are both so great.
Yeah,
yeah.
So yeah, maybe I'll throw it to Aretha Franklin just to spread the love. But yeah, those two are front runners, and great vocalists. What are you gonna do? Come on.
Yeah,
it's
I've also like
song.
I'm kind of doing like My Way covers, more so than just like Come D'Habitude.
We kind of did My Way. There are covers of Come D'Habitude. We could maybe revisit this song at a later date. I think for the intents and purposes of Bowie and Me, where we look at things through the Bowie angle, we had to look at how this song becomes 100 different versions. Yeah, and becomes My Way.
Yeah.
Alex, though, best lyrics.
Best lyrics. Oh my gosh. I mean, they all have ups and downs. I feel like that's tough. Not the Sex Pistols.
No,
for
certainly
sure.
not.
Let's see. I guess the other thing I do like. Best lyrics.
Yeah.
I like what David Bowie does with them. I really do.
It is something very cool.
Don't know if it's 100% there, but like it's most of the way there, and like there's good ideas behind it. I also like the original, even though I don't understand the French really. It's like fairly straightforward, but it's well done, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think it's well done, even though
No, I agree, and I'm of course just reading translations, but like it comes through.
Here's what I'm gonna. No, that's a little half-baked too. I feel like almost Aretha Franklin, if she had like just finished a little more.
Yeah, she'd tighten up what she had going there.
So I think that would have taken it if it had been a little more complete.
Right.
This is tough. I'm gonna give it to David Bowie because I like David Bowie, and I feel actually okay. So I'm tough because I'm like My Way. It's maybe a little less interesting conceptually, but like the lyrics themselves sound very good.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, they're Paul Anka lyrics. He's a pretty good songwriter. It's so tough. Do you have one? I'm having a tough time.
I really do like from a personal angle. I think like I most personally relate to the David Bowie, Even a Fool Learns to Love.
Yeah.
This idea of kind of like playing a persona in public situations and then kind of catching glimpses
and like it's
of real
cool,
love.
even if some parts are maybe a little clunky or more awkward than you'd expect from later Bowie.
And and as a Bowie fan, I'm just kind of leaning towards it because I like Bowie. I also really like Come Tude, and I think it's very simple storytelling, but like it really covers this person, this narrator who is just kind of devastated by routine.
Yeah.
And that's something very cool too. I think just to kind of just spread the love around and not just be Bowie all the time, I'm going to give it to Come Tude.
All right. I guess I'll give it to Bowie because I appreciate the ideas there. With an honorable mention to Nina Simone for saying spat instead of spit.
And sly instead of shy.
Because, it's amazing. Even some of those little changes, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be it.
Hell yeah, dog. That does it for today's episode of Cover Me. For the main segment, be sure to rate and review us. We are on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Amazon Podcasts, and sometimes we're on Spotify. You can fucking review us on several services. Be sure to do that. Tell your friends, neighbors, family, loved ones about us. Also, talk to us on the social media. We're on the app formerly known as Twitter. #CoverMePod, @JakeTheCressy, @SomeAlexWiseGuy. You can also email us at covermepod@gmail.com. Talk to us there. Send us comments, questions, concerns, suggestions for future episodes. And what you can do to really, really get the word out about us is host a karaoke night where the songs are just episodes of Cover Me.
And then My Way once.
And then once My Way to kind of wrap things up.
Yeah.
It's a great way to clear people out. That's what you can do for us this week. That does it for today's episode of Cover Me. And as we always say on Cover Me, for what is a man? What has he got? If not Cover Me, then he has not.